Hey, everybody, welcome to the Multifamily Legacy Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Peterson, and you are in for a treat. Man, oh man, I've got a good friend of mine that I've known for quite some time, and he's an absolute maniac when it comes to owning apartments. So his name's Mike Flaherty. He's the founder and president of L5 Investments. He's been doing this business for quite some time. He's got over $525 million worth of done that many worth of apartment deals since 2009. Over 5,500 units. He is a force to reckon with. Their focus is on well-located, yield-driven assets that have both physical and operational repositioning value plays. Plus, Mike's a good friend, and he's got a house in Kauai, which is my favorite island of all islands. So, Mike, welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, thanks, Corey. Thanks for having me. Good to be on with the big kahuna.
Dude, it's been a minute since we've talked and just really shared stories. You've got a phenomenal story, and honestly, you're just a good human. And I want to just share with my listeners, my audience, your story, dude, because I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, happy to walk you through that. And my style is pretty laid back, so feel free to interrupt and have me talk more on something or less on something. And you and I, God, we've known each other for 7-8 years.
Yeah,
that sound about right?
Yeah,
maybe longer.
Yeah.
I've
stayed
at
your
house.
Well, I didn't stay at your house, but I definitely was in your house. I guess you own it with your parents or in-laws in Kauai.
You guys definitely enjoyed some beverages over there that night.
Turtles from the backyard, right?
That's right. That's right. We'll be there in 3 days.
Oh, dude.
But yeah, we go back a ways. Congrats on all your success as well. It's been awesome to watch and see.
Yeah.
And I'm honored to be on here. But yeah, let's see. My personal journey, God, it really starts from the beginning. I have a civil engineering degree from Villanova University, and my first job was managing real estate, design, and entitlements. Entitlements primarily meaning securing permits and approvals from planning commissions, zoning hearing councils, city councils, really throughout the country. So at a young age, I was driving around, flying around, getting projects approved for the likes of McDonald's, all the oil companies, Taco Bell, Home Depot, Walgreens, you name it. So I started off in the real estate world, but not necessarily on the investment side of it.
But still on the commercial side of it, though.
Always on the commercial side. And to be honest with you, my goal was always to do the residential side. So I left there after a couple of years and joined on with Toll Brothers. Toll Brothers is the largest national luxury home builder.
Yep.
I worked out of their headquarters in Philadelphia. I managed 2 or 3 pretty large, award-winning single-family home communities there in the Philadelphia, New Jersey area. That was pretty awesome. Built 1,000+ semi-custom homes and did the residential thing, and realized that wasn't what I wanted to do either. So I took a job in New York City, managing real estate development for, at the time, the world's largest commercial real estate development fee firm, which was called Bovis Lend-Lease, out of London in Australia. And I managed all of BP, gas stations, British Petroleum's developments in the New York area. And then BP bought Arco Oil on the West Coast here where I am now, and they shipped me out to live at the beach in Los Angeles, and I worked from my home in Manhattan Beach, Hermosa Beach, and tried to work a little less and have a little bit more fun. That never really worked out. But I managed all of Arco's real estate development on the West Coast from San Diego up to Seattle. And then meanwhile, I'm trying to figure out how do I do this on my own?
Yeah.
I've been making everyone else a lot of money doing this business, primarily large Fortune 500 corporation. I went back and got my MBA at University of Southern California, and met a number of people there that really said, "Hey, Mike, you're ready to go do this on your own." So I jumped from the corporate world. I partnered with some investment bankers out of Los Angeles. We did a number of projects in Southern California and New York. And then that was kind of the development arm of that group on a number of properties. And then Lehman Brothers happened to fail. September 17th of 2008.
Yep.
Same year I got married and had a baby on the way, and the recession kicked in, and all the pieces kind of fell apart. I had a property in Hermosa Beach, used to be a Biltmore hotel, unbelievable location, designed by an award-winning architect. I had worked 2 to 3 years on getting it approved through city council, and recession hit. We lost financing, and we were about 2 weeks away from starting construction, and Lehman Brothers failed, and everything. It forced us to kind of start from scratch. So painful process, and as it was for everyone, right? You didn't have to be in real estate to go through that pain, and it didn't matter how good you were, how bad you were, how smart you were or weren't. It didn't matter whether you were in residential or commercial. It put a good hurting on everyone.
Yep.
And I kind of look back at it. You try to forget try to block out the painful side of it, but I kind of look back at it really as a blessing, because it gave me the opportunity to really start from scratch and study what I thought was next, or what I wanted to think was next. And I've always been a fan of Warren Buffett. I think he's still top 2, 3 on the world's richest man list.
Yep.
And he's always preached, "Hey, buy when there's blood in the streets," right? And there was a lot of blood in the streets in 2008, 2009, and I had done a little bit of everything from commercial properties to residential to I was flying around on helicopters, landing on deserted beaches in Costa Rica.
Think about this, right? I mean, think about what you got an education from Fortune 500 companies. That's a very high level, right? Of being the guy and helping these companies, and they're paying you to do this, and you're learning and you're gaining all this knowledge on their dime. Gosh, that's just got to be such. When you come into it, then the market crashes, and now you're in your own gig. You've got the knowledge and the experience, and there's blood, like you said, blood in the streets. That's hellacious.
Yep.
Man.
And believe it or not, I'm not sure. I know you do a great job teaching your group how to get it done. And it's funny. I've never really talked about this before. Obviously, a lot of what you do and what you learn in the past correlates to this. But so much of it is more the mentality of what you learn. So a lot of the individual things, that have enabled me to be successful, I've really learned doing what I'm doing now. Until you really jump and say, "Hey, I'm going to jump, and I know I'm going to land on my feet, and I'm going to figure this out." I mean, that's the best education you can get out there.
Yep.
More than anything else that I went through.
The true entrepreneur jumps out the plane and figures out how to get his parachute assembled, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And if you bounce on your head a couple times, that's okay, because you're still going to land on your feet at some point.
Yeah.
Hopefully sooner than later. But that was always my mentality. So, I started researching what did I want to do next, and I had Corey, as you said, I had kind of a unique experience and background. I had done a little bit of everything,
Yeah.
and I enjoyed being the well-rounded, hey, I've done a little bit of everything kind of guy. But as we learn in life, so many of the success stories come from someone that had a niche, or someone that took someone else's idea and made it better and prospered from it.
Yep.
That little widget, that ball bearing, that one idea, and for me, it's really been apartments. I would go to see and pay to hear gurus like you, Corey, talk about industrial and retail. And I remember pulling these guys aside afterwards, and that's my style, Corey, and say, hey, are you buying industrial in 2009? And they kind of looked over their shoulders and said, hey, can I buy you a drink? I'll meet you in the bar in an hour.
Right.
So, this happened twice. One guy wanted the drink, one guy wanted a cup of coffee. So I met both of these guys in the hotel lobby an hour later, and I said, hey, I just pay a lot of money to hear you speak. Are you doing this now? And both of them kind of looked over their shoulders again, and they looked at me and they said, I'm buying apartments.
Yeah.
And both times I said, I'm not really interested in apartments and tenants and toilets. And, people think you're dealing with Jerry Springer tenants all the time, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But, I heard it twice when I didn't want to hear it. And I said, maybe I should start researching it. I liked what I learned, and learned a lot about the demand for rentals at that time. Obviously, no one was buying homes, and the millennial generation was graduating from college, and they continue to do that. So it was a good, smart, safe spot to be. And 10 years later, I still believe it is the right, more risk-adverse spot to be. And I spoke at a convention in Seattle a couple years ago, and there was an economist that spoke before me. I think he was the keynote speaker. And he said something I had never heard before, but it's very true. He said, apartments are the number one risk-adjusted cash flow stream of investment in history.
Amen.
And as a result, I kind of put my blinders on. I've said no to all the other stuff I've done in the past, or stuff that tempts me along the way to get involved with from a real estate development standpoint. And, we've just been buying 20 to, we just closed on the 740 unit apartment deal this year. That's kind of been my journey in a nutshell, Corey.
Brother, I mean, how cool is this? So, you and I kind of share one of the same mentors, David Lindahl, or at least in the beginning. That was who I learned a lot of my real estate investing from, a part of it. And I look back at the relationships that I have from everybody that I, along the way. And, I think of you, I think of Bob Bowman. I actually, because you actually helped a lot of his students. And I remember talking to you one time, and I think this is what you said to me. And it was because I was really new. You were just a couple more years in it than I was, but you came from a background way more experienced than I was. Where I was just a single family guy, you had a breadth of knowledge, and you could just tell that you knew a couple things about a couple things. And you're like, Corey, the C plus, B minus, B type of asset, like, they don't build it no more, and that's just, and here's my little recipe. I'm buying a little bit nicer stuff. I can raise the rents. I get a little bit better. You weren't buying the war zones, is what I was saying, right? You were trying to buy a little bit better quality. And looking back on that, that's one of the biggest things that I've learned, especially as I buy now, is I try not to buy from the bottom of the barrel, right? I really like, if you can have a little bit better quality product, it seems to do a little bit better. What do you think?
Well, number one, I think it's just the smarter, safer place to be. I outside of all the experience I touched on before, when I had a corporate job, I probably bought 10, 11, 12 homes, before the recession. And I was looking to do some entrepreneurial things with real estate as well. I was buying some small old apartments, in not the best areas and not the most exciting markets from a stability standpoint or job growth standpoint, but the cash flow looked good, right?
Right.
And I can tell you, almost all of those fell flat. Because better products, better tenants, and more importantly, I saw coming out of the recession, what type of investments did well? Well, it was apartments. Most people don't know the stat, but Corey, you may be talking the same thing. I'm not sure, but 0.4% of apartment real estate properties went back to the bank, went into foreclosure through the recession. 0.4%.
Amen to that, brother.
And that's right. And most people think of real estate as a 4-letter word coming out of the recession. I mean, it was a painful process regardless of what you were doing. But that pain wasn't associated around apartments. And again, that's during the worst recession of our lives.
Of our lives, yeah, without a doubt.
So there's a lot of learning you can take from that. Our future recession is going to be as bad? Probably not. Hopefully not.
Yeah.
And will apartments perform as well as they did then? Probably so. I think so. It can't get much worse, right?
I agree. Yeah. Well, and if we had a crystal ball, the only thing I would say is I wish I would have had the fortitude to raise a lot more money in 2009 and 10 and bought a lot more deals. Gosh. Yeah. I mean, geez Louise, coming on the other side, I just want a mini correction so I can buy some better deals now, because it's quite frankly it's harder to find them, right? But they're still out there.
Yeah. Hey, good deal. Yeah, I always say this because people ask exactly that. Hey, is it harder to find deals than it used to be? And I say no. And most people kind of their eyes cross when I say that. But the reality of it is, in this business, good deals are always hard to find. Right. Is there a little less, was there a little less competition in 2009, 2010? Sure. But, was I still, when I was buying properties, was I always competing with 5 or 10 other groups that had money and good experience and wanted to buy that property instead of me? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, every time.
Is it different now? I'd say the same thing. Anytime we buy a property, we're probably always, if it's not off market or through a relationship, we're still always competing with 5 or 10 other groups that have experience and that the brokers know and the lenders know. So, in that aspect, it's just as hard now as it was then. I mean, nothing easy. Nothing easy comes from hard work, right? I mean, you really got to double down and become an expert at it. And can you still find good deals out there? Absolutely. We've been as active as we've ever been over the last couple of years here.
Yeah, we have too. And for the same reason, you just got to do the work. Most people are just not willing to do the work required to really understand the deals. And we associate, I'm sure it's underwriting. It's all about doing lots of underwriting to find a couple gems, and then you still got to compete and win. But listen, if you did 5 big projects, if you did 5 of these 740 or even 3 of the 740 unit deals in a year, that's a pretty damn good year.
No complaints, my friend. No complaints. Yeah, I always say to find one deal, we have to go after 100. Yeah. We have to go after 100 deals. We might really only dig in deep on 50.
Yeah.
And of those 50, we might do a deeper level of due diligence and underwriting on 20.
Yep.
And we might only write offers on 10 to 15.
Yeah.
And we might only go best and final where we know we're really competing hard with a couple other groups on 5 to get one deal that we like.
Yeah.
And I always say we become experts at being in the needle in the haystack business. But think about it. Nobody wants to be a retail investor, whether you're buying single family homes, apartments, or whatever. A good thing is hard to come by. If you want to become an expert at underwriting, as you said, and conservatively underwriting and finding good deals, you should be looking at 100 deals to find
key
one
word,
good one.
Conservative, right? So the biggest mistake I see, because right now the big buzzword is apartments, right? Everybody's talking. All my single family brethren that I know are all wanting to do apartments, and I just look back and I'm like, well, what training have you gotten? Or because everything they see is a deal. Oh, that's a deal. That's a deal. That's a deal. And you're just like scratching your head. Like, well, I mean, I guess if you say so, good luck with that.
Yeah. I always say,
it's all in your numbers and like underwriting.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest skill set anyone can, I want to say acquire, the biggest skill set people should want to come away from in this business is the ability to find a good deal. But more than anything, it's the ability to understand what a good deal is. What does it look like? What does it smell like? And you don't need an engineering degree or, an MBA or have to be an attorney. You got to just put in the time because, to develop that skill set, you have to look at a lot of deals. You have to do something a lot of times to get really good at it. And that's when someone develops the ability to find good, smart deals where investors are attracted in what they're doing and believe in what they're doing.
Yeah. So let's talk about capital. So you're finding deals, it's not hard, or it's not any harder than it was, back in the day. It's the same amount of level of work, but now we come to funding. How has that changed from when you started to kind of where it's at now?
From a funding standpoint, I think funding is the easiest part of this business because banks love apartments.
Yep.
The banks, like a lot of investors, they don't want to put their money in the market. I'm not sure they want to lend to people that have a lot of money in the market.
Yep.
So, like I touched earlier with what that economist said about apartments being, the most risk-adjusted real estate investment in history, the banks know that. So, whether it's trying to get a loan in 2009 or trying to get a loan, currently, for me personally, it has not been very challenging.
It's not changed, right? So what about private capital? What's changed there?
Private capital has definitely gotten a little bit easier, and I can only say that from a personal standpoint. And for me, it comes from trust and track record, right? We've been doing this a long time. Most of our investors, they're not in one deal; they're in 5 to 20 of our deals.
Right? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and they diversify. I find myself talking more like a financial planner than a real estate investor. And we encourage investors to dip their toe in the water. Try us out. I don't, my style, Corey. I mean, I will never sell a deal as the greatest thing since sliced bread. I like to say we bat smart singles and doubles, and with good performance and delivery, we can turn a single into a triple or a home run.
Yes.
But don't gamble on that. If you like what we do, if you like the industry, you like our track record, you talk to some of our references from other investors who are in 10 to 15 deals, plan on investing in 4 deals, 3 deals, 2 deals. Spread your risk across a couple different markets. That's how we raise capital. And then once we have happy investors, they tell their friends. So most of our new investors are all coming from referrals from, happy investors that, we've made a lot of money for over the years.
Man, I want to say that's what I wanted to allude to, is that journey of starting, because I believe raising capital snowballs. The longer you've been doing it, the more you have a consistent track record, and that you communicate with your investors, because they actually become your friends. They are, I mean, that's really what happens. But then you're, like you just said, you're never selling, right? I mean, all we do is offer opportunities, and when you can offer a really good solution, it's fun to watch your investors win, is it not?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, that's the part that is most exciting. Seeing investors like the product, trust the performance you've had for them, and come back for more. And then the next thing, you're on the phone with them and, two of their friends that are very interested as well.
Yes.
It's the greatest compliment you can get in the business, is having someone open up their, I want to say their Rolodex, Corey. That obviously dates me now, but opens up their
phone, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Because that's not easy to do. Their reputation is on the line along with yours.
Talking about money, yeah, because this is money. Money is it's the most, hush. It's the last thing anybody talks about, but it is a little bit different with people that have money. At least what I found is people that have money love to talk about money. It's kind of how they keep score. And once you do well with it, they're more than happy once you've delivered a track record and consistency and good communication. They want to share it with their friends too. That's what they talk about when they're golfing or whatever they're doing.
Yeah, well, it's funny. There's two investor stories I always tell. One is I had a finance professor at USC, Tim Campbell, and I was in a room with the people a lot smarter and more experienced than me. But I remember him saying that when it comes to entrepreneurship and making money, your goal should be to be the talk of the cocktail party. Never forget that. And it's so true, because people like to talk about what they've had success investing in.
Yeah.
Men, women, you get together, families, friends, you're at a dinner, you're grabbing cocktails. It's very, very true. And then, you use the golfer reference as well, but someone once said that investors are like golfers, right? There's always one guy that wakes up early and makes the tee time, and three other guys, hop in the cart with them. And it's the same way. One guy tries us out, has success, and next thing you know, the one guy brings three of his buddies along, and then those guys bring three more, and next thing you know, I have one investor from Austin, Texas, ex Dell Computer executive that's done very well there. Invested with me 2009, 2010. And I probably have 10, 15 investors in Austin, Texas now as a result. And I have these little silos all over the country for those same reasons, Corey. As do you, I'm sure.
Yeah, isn't it? I mean, honestly, that's my favorite part of the game, is that piece. Really, it's the investor relations that I think it really drives me, and why I do it now, why I still, because I'm sure I'm probably like you in this, that I don't think I'll ever stop. I mean, I really love the game of doing it and playing and buying real estate. But I still want to do it at my own pace. I love doing it, but I also like the freedom associated with what we're doing, right? Because like most of the times we're not managing a whole lot of people and a whole lot of systems. You usually have. Do you guys currently outsource that, or do you self-manage?
We outsource our third-party management.
Amen.
But it's still a lot of work. You might call me on this later, but you touched on it. In the end, what are we? Well, we're managing people's money.
Yeah.
Right.
Without saying that's wealth
really
management
what
company,
we're doing.
that's what we're doing. Yeah. Yes.
It's really what we're doing. So, I don't like to lead people on and be like, oh yeah, you're going to be retired in 5 years and sitting on the island of Kauai with your family. So, am I going there in 3 days and I'll be there for 2.5 weeks with my family? Absolutely. And doing this enables me to do that. But it's hard work. Success comes with a lot of hard work. There's no doubt about it. And I don't know that there's a checking, at least with our business. We have about 4,500 units right now after selling some deals. We bought and sold 25 different properties. We've got a lot of investors. So we're managing a lot of money, as you can imagine.
Yep.
And when you're managing people's money, there's no checking out and, traveling the world for a year. You always report to someone, right?
Absolutely.
God, your wife, your investors. And, for me personally, that's the number one thing we do is manage people's money, make sure we deliver on what we promised them.
That you're good stewards of the money that they gave you. And
correct.
But what a great business model to be able to do it in, right? So, I always look at there's, like you said, allude to in the very first part of this, is that the asset class lends itself so well to really your skill set and my skill set, which is, listen, I've never said I have the smartest tool in the shed, but my unique ability is to organize and get teams and the people and all the right, places, and then aggregate the capital to do it all, right? And then because of that, I get to own a lot of real estate as well. It's a wonderful game.
Correct. Absolutely. And people always ask about the downside. Are we going to go through another cycle here, another down cycle? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are returns going to dip? Absolutely. Are interest rates going to rise or cap rates are going to rise and values might slow or dip a little bit? Yeah, that's going to happen. But where would you rather have your money? And I ask myself that, where would I rather have my money? Would I rather be in the market where when the recession hits, I'm going to lose half my principal, maybe more, right?
Mm-hmm.
Versus in the apartment business, again, remember 0.4% in the recession. I feel pretty comfortable with my original investment.
Amen to that, dude. Yes.
I doubt that ever dips or ever gets lost. Now, might my yield, think of it like a bond, right? Might my yield or my cash on cash dip from, 9-10% down to 3-4% during that cycle for a couple months or for a year? Yeah, it might. But compare that to being in the market where you lost all your money,
Yeah.
Try timing the market and pulling your dollars out of the top and putting it into a bond, making 2 to 3%. It's the same thing, really.
Yep.
So do I think there's risk there? Absolutely. But I think your principal is for the most part protected in apartments as long as you're not. You touched on it, Corey. You're not buying in the hood. You're not buying it old. I call them antiques. Old properties in a very tired area in a poor location. Those, and I've done those. Those are decisions that don't bode very well.
We've made those mistakes
in a down cycle. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Especially in a down cycle, those decisions hurt, right?
Right.
But that's what with apartments. What we're our three niches have been buying properties. Ideally 100 to 700 unit apartment communities where the local community has always known of you and your property as apartments with amenities.
Yeah. Exactly.
But it's in a location that has excellent access to number one job announcements. If you go back and you study markets that did well or locations or properties that did well through the recession, that's the one commonality they all had. Great access to jobs and employment centers. So that's number one. We look for that. Number two, I love to be near good retail. And I'm not saying you got a great, the most popular pawn shop in town right across the street, right? I want a shopping center that's not half vacant that I'm next to. I love to be near a Starbucks, a Walgreens, a good grocer nearby. These are the things tenants are looking for. If there's entertainment, hey, great. We're closing tomorrow actually on a 624 unit deal in the Midwest where they can walk to the movie theaters. They can walk to, a steakhouse right next door. There's a brand new 61,000 square foot state-of-the-art gym that's being built as we speak on the property right next door to it. They can just walk. They don't even have to cross the street to get to. I love those stories. And lastly, if I can get good access to mass transit, that's a third thing we always try to look at, whether it's bus, light rail, you name it. Those are three things that I really believe protect the downside in our business and in real estate in general, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So listen, we're coming close to wrapping this thing up. And if you had to give my audience, so, my audience composes of guys that are just starting out to, I would say the average, guys that are starting to get into the multifamily space. What advice would you give them? What advice would you give them?
I would say start small. Drives me bonkers when someone that's brand new in the business, someone the other day says, hey, he emailed me, called me, hey, I've got 1,200 units in Texas that I think we should buy. When he has never closed on a fourplex, as an example, right? Yeah. Start small, and as I said, be able to prove up to your investors and your peers and your partners, like Corey and I potentially, that you know what you're doing. And it doesn't mean you have to have closed on 5 properties. It just means you've done your homework, which is due diligence, smart, prudent underwriting. Do you know your rent comps? And I get this all the time. Hey, we think we can raise rents $400. Okay, well, show me the beauty of apartments, right? There's data out there to help you make prudent decisions. Have you looked at the sales comps? Is anyone else in your little sub-market $400 above yours? Yes, there's 3 properties that have done it. Okay, that's great. Sales comps is the other one. Factual evidence. It's the beauty of apartments. You're not gambling.
Buying data, dude. Yes, we're buying data, dude. It's all out there.
Yeah, absolutely. We're buying at $50,000 a unit for a property built in 1980. You can get the data and understand that, hey, these properties should sell between $40,000 and $60,000 a unit. Okay, I'm in that ballpark. Great. If someone brings it to me and it's $80,000 per unit and I know it should be $50,000, there's a problem there. But anyone starting can get that data. The brokers have it. Corey, I'm sure you and your team can, help people, educate people on how to get it and where to get it. Who's going to manage the property? Oh, I don't know.
Building your team. I know, right?
Someone's in Phoenix and they're buying a property in, Cedar Rapids. And there's nothing wrong with it. We do it all the time. But, you want boots on the ground that can help you understand what you're doing and can give your investors confidence that you know what you're doing. So, do you have a management company that's in the market, from the market? They manage 40 other properties in the market. Have they already been to the property, seen it, walked it, given you a feel for whether it's worth your time or not? All that is really important to come by. And have you seen the property? I mean, Corey, you and I get it. We've bought all over the country. You don't have to go see that property right off the bat. But if you're going to start raising money, if you have a property under contract, and whether this is
foot on the dirt, you better put your foot on the dirt.
Yeah, whether it's duplex or 100 units, you need to prove up to your investors who are trusting you that, you put your foot on the dirt, right? I'm amazed how many times I get phone calls and, they have one, they're in due diligence, they're under contract, they have earnest money that's hard and non-refundable, and they're trying to convince me to partner and invest with them. And I find out they've never been to the property, which is a major red flag. Happens all the time. And it also tells you you're not talking to the right guy. That's probably someone that's helping raise money for someone else. So, always make sure you're talking to the right source. And for someone that starts, happens a lot, right? With brokers, you find out you're not dealing with the broker that has the relationship with the actual gentleman that's selling the property, right?
Mm-hmm. It's
That's
two or
a red
three
flag.
guys down the road. Yes, it's crazy.
You don't want to, the chances of you getting that deal if you're dealing with a middleman is very, very slim. You want to make sure and you want to demand that you are talking, negotiating, asking questions of the right person of accountability that is, either is the seller or has direct access to who that seller is.
Yeah. Dude, Mike, sage advice, brother. Sage advice. What a wonderful journey, right? I mean, and you're still on the journey. And, gosh dang, I look at where I started and what you're doing now. What a wonderful thing. I mean, there's lots of things that we could have been doing, and somehow we found something that really fits really well, which is multifamily apartments, right?
Yeah, I found my thing, and it's come from meeting good people, such as yourself and your wife, and network, surrounding yourself with good people, whether it's in your business or your networking environment, and, trying to be a sponge, really. You can never stop learning. But, yeah, I've been very fortunate to, quite frankly, I've got a great partner. I've got a great team of people that have been with me a long time. We've got a very small, lean amount of people. People are amazed at how many deals we do, how many investors we manage, and how much money we deliver back to our capital and our investors with a pretty small team. But it's people that I've been working with for a decade straight. We know each other. We trust each other.
Yeah, that's. I mean, isn't that's the culture, man. That really is the epitome of being this type of entrepreneur in this space. So, if people want to learn about your company, L5, or how do they get a hold of you? How would they find you?
Yeah, our website is up and running. We're actually in the middle of redoing it because it's about 5 years old right now. But happy to send people there. There's a number of I always say trust and track record. There's a number of testimonials there from some of our investors and some information on some articles that have been posted about us and about our properties there, which is L5invest.com. L as in Larry, the number 5invest.com. And then, Corey, I'll give it to everyone now. If you're fine with it, my phone number and my email. I like to be very accessible with people that have interest in what we do. So my email is mike@l5invest.com. L as in Larry, the number 5invest.com. And my cell phone, 310-991-3091. So happy to help as needed.
Yeah, dude, awesome. Man, that's huge, brother. Listen, guys, this is a great episode. Like, Mike's got a lot of knowledge, been around the game for a long time, doing amazing things. It all starts from a point of belief, though. He believed in himself. He fed himself. He kept learning. And guys, in this lifetime, if you believe it, you can achieve it, and your paradise is possible.